Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. And this is going to be the last tasting on the Tuesday for a while in terms of just doing a tasting. On Tuesdays, next week, coming back with Whiskey Lore, the interviews. Going to be talking with Tomatin. Then after that, I've got 5 more interviews that are already lined up and ready to go. So every Tuesday, get ready for it. That is coming your way. Today, I am doing a tasting of Bunnahabhain, and this is their Stiuireadair, which is a single malt whiskey, non-age stated, made out of first fill and second fill sherry barrels. And when you taste it, you will know, because last night I poured myself a glass of this. This is another one like my Bunnahabhain that I had not too long ago, that it was kind of like, wow, you know, this is really going into a place with some flavors that are throwing me, because it's kind of got its own personality. It definitely gets a lot from those sherry barrels. Now, this is apparently part of their core line, and so it's something that you can find around. The reason I bought it, I knew nothing about it, but it was $39 on the shelf, and for a single malt whiskey these days, that's a pretty darn good bargain. So I went ahead and got a bottle of it, and I was not disappointed. Although I will say, this may be an acquired taste for some if you're not into the darker flavors of a sherried whiskey. Although I will also say that while a lot of those sherried whiskeys tend to go towards fruit, this one goes way into the spices, and that is what had me so confused while I was doing the nosing and tasting on this yesterday. 46.3% ABV. And there's a little bit, that's what that is. There's a little briny note in there. And it's not little, actually. On the nose, you're getting that nice, salty kind of note along with raisins. Now, one of my favorite pictures that I have that I've taken while I was traveling Scotland, and I went to Isle of Skye, I went all over Scotland, and my favorite picture out of all of those is when you get to Bunnahabhain and you stand there and you look out at the Paps of Jura, because it almost looks like you're in a Star Wars movie with Tatooine across on an island away from you. It's just amazing, the view from there. And you can walk out on the docks, and the building whitewashed like all the ones that you see in Islay, except this one's a little bit more dingy maybe in terms of its look. Now, as I understand it, they have torn down some stuff and put some new stuff up. So I'm not sure what the new place looks like, but loved it when I was there before. And then you take the scariest drive to get there, because it's a single track road and it's got all sorts of ditches on either side of it. So if you go to see this fantastic view, stop at Ardnahoe also, because you might as well make the trip worth it up this road, because that is on the way too. But yeah, I mean, it is just absolutely beautiful. The blue waters. Now, of course, when I went to Scotland, it was sunny the whole time I was there, which is rare. But I also traveled in April and in October, and I think those are probably semi-dry months as far as dry months go for Scotland. That doesn't mean I missed rain completely. I actually did get drenched when I decided to walk the 3 distilleries between Ardbeg, Lagavulin, and Laphroaig. And as I was walking back from Ardbeg, I just got drenched. But then I was dry 10 minutes later as the storm just went by and it was over. And then I got to dry out on the rest of my walk along. If you've never been to Islay, go. You just got to go if you're a Scotch whiskey fan. So yes, the brininess is definitely there. And when I was smelling it, I was almost going, you know, it's got almost what I would call a barbecue note to it. But I think that is really coming from that smoke, a little bit of warehouse, and a little bit of a minerally note on top. All right, cheers. this is where this whiskey really shines through if you are a baking spice fan. Because you get a little bit of the raisin, maybe a little caramel, interestingly enough, but I also get cinnamon, and I get clove. I feel like I'm getting a little nutmeg in there. And then on the finish, you get kind of this little dark chocolate thing that comes in. The brininess sort of is there, but not as much as it is on the nose, at least not by that first drink. And that's what makes this whiskey so interesting, because it actually feels like it has Islay characteristics, but it's not a peated whiskey. So there's not really any peat in this. It's not a smoky whiskey. This, in a way, reminds you of a really dark, maybe Oloroso sherry kind of a barrel, maybe some nuttiness in there as well, but something more from Speyside until that briny note hits, and that briny note throws you to Islay. I love this whiskey because to me this whiskey is just another direction that you can go with a whiskey. In a way, if you poured me this and I tasted it and I was picking up those flavors, I might think it came from Glenglassaugh or something like that, but because it has such a Speyside character in terms of the dark sherried notes, but it's not like a Glendronach where you get a lot of plum and fig and those kinds of things. The raisin is what really stands out to me, and then those baking spices are top notch, really nice clean finish. It's part of the reason why I say you don't have to have an age statement. Who knows how old the whiskey is that's in here? Doesn't really matter. Actually, if you look at the color of it, for being aged in first fill and second fill barrels, I would say it's not that old a whiskey. But, you know, I mean, 3, 4, 5 years, if that's enough, and the distillate's really good, then maybe you don't need any more than that. So, I don't know. Excellent. I like it. Have you had it? Have you seen it on your store shelves? What price point have you seen it at? I've seen it around $44, $39 in that price range. Online, I seem to be finding it at around $50 a bottle. Even at $50 a bottle, I think this is a really, really nice whiskey. It's just like I said, it's going to be one of those, if you don't like the briny notes, you're probably not going to like it. I actually have that taste in my mouth like I've just been out at the beach, and you have that kind of saltiness hanging on your palate. It's just still there. And this is why I also love Scotch whiskey, because there's sometimes a whiskey can take you back. If you've been there, it can take you back very easily, and I think this whiskey actually does that. Bunnahabhain, excellent. I like that distillery. I'm not a big fan of Bunnahabhain 12. I need to go back and taste it again, because the last time I had it, it seemed very heavy in raspberry, and it wasn't necessarily taking me on a journey that I was overly excited about. But again, my palate has evolved, so maybe it's time for me to go back and revisit that one as well. While I was at the distillery, they let me taste some Madeira finished whiskey and some other stuff while I was there, and I liked everything I drank while I was there. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video, and leave your comments below. Always enjoy those. Help me out on Patreon if you want to join in. Tennessee Whiskey Book is up to chapter 11 now that I've posted up there, or it's getting close to 11 actually. It's timed to go out over the next week. $12 level will get you the whole shebang, whereas the $5 level is only going to get you 4 episodes or 4 chapters. But you still got time to hear most of the book if you sign up now. Until next time, cheers and Slainte. Actually, the brininess hits the palate immediately, but then everything else takes over.